I'm just going to tell the public you're my Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm your Luke Skywalker, and you're just going to school us. Okay. Are you ready? Records already? Yeah. Okay, I can edit that out. All right. Hello and welcome. My name is Vincent Faney. I am the producer of the new show, Vinsanity Unplugged, in search of game changers. My mission is to go out into the community. My passion is to meet people who are various aspects of life, whether it's business, music, athletics, science, and politics. And to see people who are out there actually changing the game instead of doing the old status quo. And today I'm interviewing Mr. Joe Berney, who's running for county commissioner. Is that correct? What position?
County commissioner. That's the position.
Okay, so there's different
from Springfield, which is District 2.
Okay.
That is correct.
Well, everybody wants to know more about you. Tell us where you came from. And
not everybody.
Yeah. So go ahead, tell us about you.
I don't know what you want to know. I'm a parent.
Okay.
Between my wife and I, we've got 6 kids that we've raised. I have 2 grandchildren.
Okay.
The grandchildren are students. One of them is a student in elementary school in Springfield.
Okay.
I retired from a construction development and finance business that I had for a number of years.
What the heck is that?
It's building things, and
Okay.
and the focus of our building things, we did about 125 million in closed projects in 6 years.
Okay.
They were all either energy efficiency, renewable energy, energy storage,
Okay.
utilizing microgrid technology to the plug in terms of energy load, and we did some seismic retrofits also.
Okay.
If I may, the point of that business was to disrupt, and it was to disrupt a dirty energy model that this country is currently based on. We wanted to do it here in Lane County. The Lane County commissioners were not interested at the time, 7 years ago. As a result, I took that to Los Angeles and did 2 things. One, our business opened up new markets. We created new markets for the building trades in clean energy. We insisted on prevailing wages, fair and flexible schedules for all of our workers, health and retirement benefits, and community hire agreements. We wanted the money of the construction work in these projects to multiply locally.
Okay.
That was very important to us, as it should be to Lane County. And so the community hire agreements ensured that. We focused recruitment for those positions amongst populations that historically were underserved in terms of full workforce participation, women, minorities, and veterans.
Okay.
That's the heart of a community workforce agreement. Local contractors, local hires, good jobs, full employment. So that's what I've done the last 6 years. I've got a background in education, in workforce training, and in business, done well in each, retired, enjoying my grandkids, looking at this community. There's so much work to be done, offered my services.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard so often from people in the public who say, oh, you know, people just want to go into politics so they can enrich themselves. And what I've liked about listening to you before, I've heard you before, and I've heard some of the others, I'm going to be quite frank, people who aren't running for you, but running from a different seat in the commission.
Right.
And, man, you guys got some incredible background. And, you know, here some of you have made your fortune, don't need any more money, and are basically saying, I just need to keep busy and creative and serve.
One of us.
Okay. Well,
one of us. I'm the oldest dog in the race.
Oh, you're the oldest.
I'm the only one that's retired.
Okay.
And I truly am not obliged to any special interest groups other than the public interest.
I was thinking of other politicians not running for the same office you are.
Running for any of the commissioner candidates you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's you got another plus.
No, that's fine.
I'm
just saying.
Okay.
I personally, you know, I'm not a big fan of status quo politicians on either side of the aisle.
Right.
I'm really not.
Yeah.
And I couldn't.
Yeah.
We all make our own decisions.
Right.
Right? So I could not do this if I was raising a family.
Right.
I'm done raising a family.
Right.
I could not do this if I was working to support myself and my family, which I have been for the last 43 years.
Okay.
So this is truly an act of civic duty. That's what it's all about to me.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, here you are. You're the oldest one in the bunch. You're retired.
That's a hell of a thing.
You know, your dance card is cleaned up somewhat, so you have more time and energy and creativity to go in and serve the public. What I like hearing is all that innovative energy things, technologies you were into. That sounds like you were really way ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
Yeah.
And if I may, I hate saying this because I don't like underlying my age, but I was done teaching high school as a tenured high school instructor 40 years ago. Okay. Before my opponent had graduated from high school. So there's nobody on this seat that's looking for a new career.
You're not that old. You look pretty well preserved. How old could you be?
In another week, in another 8 days, I'll be 65.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're like me. You moisturize.
Moisturize, a little more tenderized than I used to be.
Okay. So what else you got going?
What else I got going? Yeah. You said that you were interested in the energy stuff.
Yes.
So the answer is yeah. I mean, the other thing we did 7 years ago for Lane County, when I was doing consulting for a bunch of groups, I was asked to develop a finance program that could unleash capital into Lane County's economy, right? For carpenters, electricians, solar contractors, heating contractors, plumbers, ironworkers, and I did develop that proposal. Sadly, Lane County commissioners 7 years ago were much more into politics. They had a renegade county administrative officer that was doing a lot of wrongful terminations. They were covering themselves, and they didn't even read the proposal that I submitted and that they paid for. So
they paid for.
They paid for. So and they had another group. So me and that other group, by the way, found a place that would say yes, which was the whole rest of the West Coast. And we created over $1 billion market that now exists that is employing the trades for residential solar and energy efficiency. Lane County said no. So one of the things I want to do is bring those jobs to Lane County. It's called PACE financing, that particular one, which stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy Financing. It's assessed like a special district. And my business, subsequent to that, when I decided enough with this crap, I want to do transactions and employ people, my business developed what was for several years the largest PACE project in the United States, and it was a $8 million complete energy retrofit for a marquee hotel.
Wow, energy retrofit.
Yeah, so I mean, we replaced 13,000 light bulbs with LEDs. We replaced motors in every room for the heating and cooling. We did film across windows that reduced the amount of heat coming in or heat loss on either hot or warm. The entire cooling plant, the entire facility, we saved them in their energy costs and maintenance costs over $800,000 a year by doing this retrofit. The financing to pay for it was less than the cost of the energy and maintenance they saved. It was a no-brainer. They made money, and they became an ecotourism destination. That's the kind of stuff I've been doing.
Well, you know, I understand when it comes to energy being sucked out and people paying a lot of money, and that it makes good business sense to go to a company like the one that you had and purchase these energy-saving devices and so forth. I understand that the state of Oregon and many states, the municipalities, are just like bleeding energy out, and they need that kind of technology.
Well, they need it, but I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I'm sorry.
They need it.
Yeah.
But every place is different.
Okay.
Oregon has a lot of policies that need to be caught up.
Okay.
A lot of talk. Yeah. Not a lot of pragmatic policy.
Yeah.
One. Two, energy in Oregon is much less expensive than in other energy markets. And the more expensive the cost of energy, the more financeable these projects and attractive they become. So in Oregon, we'll need to create some interesting financial structures, as I have done, so that it makes sense to do the right thing, and it creates jobs to do the right thing.
Okay, that's it. That's now why you know, just kind of curious.
We can talk other areas, but we're talking energy.
Yeah, well, this energy. You know, why when what you're saying is such an evident need has to be done, save whether it's a municipality or a business money, because of the very expense, and that they would make it feasible for them to get a loan, get the credit, and have it done, because any bank would say, geez, you know, your overhead's going to be less, you're going to be making more profit. But the politics, the people who can make the decisions that are in now, what's making them drag their feet?
Well, I have a theory about that.
Yeah, I just
I mean,
curious.
A lot of people, it's all politics, right? Oh, it's this political thing. I don't approach it that way. I look at things, okay, is there an issue? What would be a pragmatic solution? And my theory about the local guys is that they don't know what to do. And it's not their fault. But they aren't equipped with either the business expertise or the expertise in this particular sector.
Right.
And they default to politics. Because they don't know what to do, and they're politicians and they want to look bad.
That sounds fair.
So they default.
Yeah.
So for me, the issue is I always build coalitions. I mean, you know, again, first time I've run for anything, and I'm a week from 65. I've always built coalitions around getting things done, and I can do that here. And over the last 8 years, in terms of this, I've also developed some great relationships with large real estate investment, development holding companies, with large development firms, and I'll attract them to the area. We're already in discussions. Great. Visits are already planned.
That sounds great. Yeah. Okay, so what else? What other things you have that you're interested in fixing? Or attacking strongly?
Well, and the other thing is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Right?
Okay.
If it ain't broke, so one thing that the reasons I'm running, what I want to fix is, one, the credibility of our county government is so low. If you just talk to the average guy out there, Lane County commissioners, really, I'd rather restore that. Okay. And in my community of Springfield, you restore that by having office hours in Springfield, by having community listening forums and town halls on issues that are important to Springfield. Okay. Those issues include things like small business, redirecting this county's very extreme obsession of courting and romancing huge corporations, marquee companies, to come here, and then often, as we're seeing with Symantec now, and we've seen with others before, leave, Hyundai, Sony, is use those same tools. Deferred property taxes, low interest loans, no interest loans, grants, and refocus them on local business. Local businesses where that can make all the difference in the world. I've been a local business owner multiple times, in terms of staying in business, in terms of expanding business. Also, we ought to be opening up new markets for the products and services that are produced here locally. Okay. So that's a focus, and that's something that resonates, I believe, with my community. Healthcare, expanding healthcare. This county has a good series of clinics. We need to expand accessibility. It's not touching everyone. It's not touching the hardest to reach. There's no opioid addiction treatment center in Springfield. We need services. So transparent government, common sense economics. Give you an example. Okay. Lane County at this particular moment has approximately $250 million, $250 million of our tax money, and it is invested in Wall Street. It's invested in companies like Honda, Toyota Financing. Right. It's managed by groups like, given to groups to manage like Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank. These are not groups that are investing here at home in Lane County. And one would think, okay, maybe they're getting such a whopping interest rate, it makes sense. No, it's averaging about 1% right now. Wow. So my point is that if we need to change some policies, we change some policies, because that money, or at least most of it, ought to be invested locally, multiplied locally, support local businesses, hiring local people, and giving flesh to the notion that a rising tide lifts all boats,
Right.
increasing tax revenue, with that increasing services. That's one point.
Right.
May I continue?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Another point. Let's say that we weren't going to question that. Okay, $250 million, 1% interest, that's still $2.5 million a year. What does Lane County government do with the 1%, the $2.5 million? They use it to backfill their own budgets. My point is, no, that's our money. That's the people's money. It's not the government's money.
Now, what do you mean by backfill their own?
They have a budget. I mean, if you got interest,
you mean to run the
you
government?
use that to put into various departments in the county.
Oh, okay. So it's going back into the government,
It's
not
going
outside
yeah,
the government.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is, wait a minute, we can do better than that.
Yeah.
Why don't we create a fund that's not supporting a bureaucracy and call it Neighbors Helping Neighbors, and take a look at how much work is being done by neighbors that are helping seniors that live near them with their yards, or taking them to the store or to church. How many neighbors for no money are mentoring young people,
Right.
or coaching them in sports,
Right.
or helping them with computer skills? I mean, things are going on where neighbors are helping neighbors, and I'm saying, hey, let's put that in a fund, reimburse people their expenses and give them a little stipend so that we can re-knit the fabric of our real community back together. That's, to me, common sense.
Right.
And that's, to me, that is completely lacking in even the public discourse.
Yeah.
Another one, last one. The commissioners operate, well, two last ones. The commissioners gave themselves a $10,000 salary increase. They were already making $75,000 a year, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
They gave themselves another $10,000 and a huge benefit increase without ever once taking that to a vote from the public.
Yeah.
To me, that means these guys are a little flip-flopped on who the boss is and who the public servant is.
Yeah.
So my first day in office, I will propose rescinding that pay raise unless and until voters approve it.
Yeah.
That's one point. Another point, in a $600 million budget, who's the most important entity that should be serving?
Well, the public.
Yes, the public, absolutely, the public, which are called constituents.
Yeah.
Okay, in a $600 million plus budget, when these guys are giving themselves $10,000 above the $75,000 they were making,
Right.
how much do they spend on constituent service? $4,000 a year per commissioner.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
They spend $4,000 a year on their constituents. What do you mean?
Constituent service, on helping people that live in their districts out with issues that they
Wow.
have. I mean, talk about, I shouldn't say this on TV, but talk about ass backwards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm a guy that has been successful in a bunch of different arenas, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's why in my retirement, I'm opting to run, because I'm not someone that particularly, I'm not a professional politician. Yeah.
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think if you're a leader, you need to take the hit with your men. So when people or women, your team, your army, and I look at your constituents, the public, as being an army of people that you have to lead. And if they're taking a hit economically and so forth, they're suffering.
Well, they are, and they are.
And they are.
Yeah.
And so, in my way of thinking, I've been taught as a Marine and as a person for my family that you suffer with your people.
Hey, listen, I got a son that's had 2 tours of duty with the Army in South Korea and the Middle East. I've got another that's in law enforcement. I think I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've always viewed that. In every arena I've been in, whether it was business or nonprofits. I created the first migrant farm worker training center in the United States a mere 30 years ago. Wow. I agree with you 1,000%. And you know, it's people in Lane County, but people in Springfield are taking a hit.
Yeah.
And wages have been stagnant for 10 years.
Yeah.
Housing prices have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Rental prices through the roof.
Utilities, everything.
Everything, and money's moving. I mean, money is moving, but it's not moving into Springfield. So I also get tired of, and forgive me, I hope I don't appear negative, but I get tired of politicians who claim credit for things they have little or nothing to do with. Like they're the reason why the market is moving in this direction. It's like, dude, the tail doesn't wag the dog.
Right, right.
So one thing I know how to do is I know how to create some sane kinds of policies and move money into Springfield, and that's really important to me.
Sure.
Springfield is on the precipice. I mean, we're like almost there, and yet at the same time, you're getting thousands of apartments being built in Eugene right now, and very little in Springfield. Great city council that is trying to do something about that, needs a commissioner that'll advocate. I mean, rambling, every biennium, last biennium, Lane County got over $100 million in lottery-backed construction bonds, right?
Right.
And the commissioners determine where that goes, and then they field all these proposals and they make decisions. Last year, none of that went directly to Springfield. None of it. It went to Eugene predominantly, the M Stadium, Eugene Ballet, Knight Science Building, you know, a variety of things in Junction City, the hospital. None, LCC, none went directly to Springfield. So one thing that I'm going to fight for, I mean fight for, is to get at least 25 million of the next biennium's allocation of those dollars to incent affordable housing construction in Springfield. And I know that market, how to do that, and I'll get 3 times that amount in private investment if we properly structure that 25 million and bring 100 million to create, you know, to make a difference systemically, not just the Band-Aid stuff the commissioners currently do.
So I'm just still trying to learn.
And I'm sorry I'm talking so much.
No, that's well, you're here. We want to hear it. So why is it going to other parts of Eugene? I mean,
it's political.
Well, yeah, but I mean, is it they all vote on it, and then they basically all these other commissioners say it's us against you, nothing?
No, I'm going to find out what the process is. I haven't sat in that seat. I'm a pretty quick study.
Sure.
But it's a political process where they allocate resources. And when that was occurring a couple of years ago, right? There were my opponent, who's the incumbent, he was running for Secretary of State. He wasn't working hard to make sure Springfield interests were, you know, he was taking time away from the job to try and get another job.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad you made this interview as well as the other ones I put out, and I've asked every incumbent, even the ones who aren't running for office. I said, I want to hear all your views. And only a handful of people said, yeah, glad to do it. And some people, they just haven't done. You know, I don't know why. I'm sure they're busy, but the thing is, I'm selfish, and I still wanted to speak to them.
Well, it's not just that. I can't speak for everyone.
Right.
But anyone that's running for office has no excuse not to speak to people. It's been a little frustrating in that regard. I've made myself available to everyone, and will continue to. And my opponent has not.
Yeah, it seems like you probably have clones, I think, because you seem like you're everywhere.
No.
I mean, how does he do it?
I don't have clones. I'm exhausted.
Okay.
But there's 2 more weeks in the campaign.
Okay.
This election in May, which is another point. This is a primary, but it's really the final election because only 2 people are running, right? Mr. Leikin and myself. And whoever wins that election will be seated on the next County Board of Commissioners. So I've been running, man. I've been going here, talking to groups. I've yet to find a group, even business groups, which I'm the business candidate. I have the successful track record in business. My opponent does not. Even though he's used that tagline before, the fact is he does not have a successful experience in business anywhere. I'm the guy that has a successful experience in education, from tenured high school teacher to generating 25 years ago the first school to work investments, $3.5 million here in Lane County, to for over a decade being on the board of the Lane Education Service District. He has no track record in workforce training. I have a track record generating tens of millions of dollars of training program for the building trades 30 years ago. Migrant farm worker training center. all the way up to, and 25 years ago, bringing in $4 million to Lane County for displaced timber worker retraining at LCC. I mean, I'm offering my services, right? I'm not looking for a career. I'm offering my services.
Well, yeah, you look like, I mean, I've been checking out your resume, like you seem very highly qualified in so many things. There's a lot of people out there who are running for other offices, and they're like smart, and they got some good creds, but you know, people say, well, you'd make a good politician. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm smart and persistent, but you know, it takes more than just being smart and being able to do a crossword puzzle.
Well, I don't know what it takes. I'm giving it a shot.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of creds. You got a lot of people are excited that you're in the race. I will say that, and it just, again, so people out there know I can't vote for Joe. I'm here, but I've been really impressed with reading about your resume and everything, and you know, I don't know what else to say. I'm always impressed by people who perform. You know, like one, you show that ahead of your time years ago. I'm impressed by people who are, you know, ahead of the curve, and then they attack things from a multi-dimensional, multi-pronged approach instead of saying, let's just do this and see how it pans out 10 years from now, and then we'll, you know.
Well, and you know, if I may use that's another point. I mean, we have a real democracy, right? Citizen engagement in their communities is discouraged. Yeah. Right? It is. I mean, it's hard to, when you're working 1, 2, or 3 jobs, just to put food on the table and a roof over your family's head. Yeah. Or you've got medical issues that aren't being addressed or not fully, or they're impacting you financially tremendously. It's hard to have the time to really be engaged. Right. So when citizens do engage, the last thing we need is a county government that stops them, which is what we have, for example, with citizen initiatives. In this latest one, the group that wants to put on the ballot a ban for the herbal spraying of a lot of our forests, right? Well, for me, the issue isn't do I vote for that or against it. I know how I'll vote. Yeah. The issue is getting it to the ballot so we, as community residents, can have a say in what our future is going to look like. Right. And when you've got a county board of commissioners that hides behind preemptive litigation and says we can't do anything, it's like, wait a minute. You've given yourself a raise. You're being paid $85,000 a year. You don't pay for your health insurance. Yeah. And you refuse to be a leader. You're just going to be a mediocre bureaucrat that says, oh, we can't do anything. Yeah. That's not good enough. We need to encourage citizen initiatives. Yeah. Yeah. We need to direct, another thing I do first day, stop wasting money. Direct county's legal staff to work with citizens that want to develop initiatives so they can structure them properly without wasting hundreds of thousands of hours getting signatures. Right. Structure them properly so that they can move to the ballot, and at the get-go, if they're not appropriate to move forward, or let them know. Right. Let them know, and let them know what they can do. But don't trample on the goodwill of the people that are our neighbors and our friends. Right, right. You know, a lot of people out in the public, I know that a lot of people don't know what channels to go to so they can speak to you. A lot of people think that their leaders, once they're in, don't want to hear from them. And I'm sure that's true with some leaders, but I get the sense that a lot of can-do leaders, well, a lot of can-do leaders are going, hey, you know, tell me. What's up? They want to know. You would want to know. Absolutely. You know, not only would we want to know, but right now, look at the donor base. I've got working families. Right. Springfield educationists, so teachers that typically don't weigh in on commission races are endorsing me. The building trades that just want jobs are endorsing me. Wow. Environmental groups that want to be stewards to the environment, that oftentimes are at loggerheads with building trades, have found common ground with me. Right. All sorts of groups, whereas my opponent gets money from the same old group that are predominantly natural resource extractors, right? Whereas I will listen to and allow for timber companies, for example, Mr. Leikin's base, and gravel companies, I'll listen to them. They're invited to be at the table, but I'm not going to only listen to them.
Sure.
They represent 10%, a little less, of the employment in Lane County. I want to hear from the other 90% too. I want to develop some sane, sustainable policies moving forward that grows everyone's
So you want to have an expanded type of businesses, services, economy? Instead of, because I remember years ago when I first moved out here in '82, and I remember when the mills went down. Prior to me coming out here, I was like, wow, everything's growing great. I could work at a mill, I could work here.
Yeah, it was
I came out, then all of a sudden, nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we want to make sure that there's not all of a sudden nothing experience again. Too many of our people right now are getting all of a sudden, I'm making money, but not enough to make ends meet. That doesn't work either.
So, you know, other issues, are there any other issues? Because I know that you're running for county. It's not like you people running for state or running for Congress or anything like that for the federal level. So you have a certain responsibility. You're more of a contained set of responsibilities.
In the county, and you're gonna have to forgive me. I have to leave in a few minutes.
Okay, that's all right.
No, but in the county,
Sure. How many minutes, by the way?
Let's 3.
Okay, so go ahead. Spill your gut.
I apologize. Yes, I mean there's certain jurisdictional things, and some things I would have no input on, and others I have a ton of input on. I mean, commissioners become the county board of public health, so you have input. Commissioners can define economic development strategies, which we've talked about. They can determine the degree to which they're an open and transparent and inclusive government, which they're not, in my opinion, and which we've talked about. They can determine economic development policies, which we've talked about. But the other thing we can do is we can have a vision of the kind of Lane County we want to live in. Because if you don't know where you're going, anyone can lead you there. And in this day and age, that's going to have ripple effects. That's going to have ripple effects throughout our state, and hopefully throughout our nation. But I'm talking about being here in Lane County. Right. Yeah. And I can't thank you enough.
No, I thank you.
This has been great. I'm sorry about my schedule.
No, you don't be sorry. You're the one who's out there going to help us and rebuild society. And I'm just like, I'm going to just take the news and hopefully get it out there.
Okay.
So that's all I can do.
Thanks, Vincent.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.